Hello, everybody. It's Royce here, and I want to welcome each and every one of you to the Royce in the House YouTube channel. We're going to have a great show for you tonight. But we're going to be talking about famous rock and roll feuds, not only interband, but band against band. So there's some interesting things we're going to be talking about. I'm really looking forward to doing this. First thing I need to do is introduce my esteemed panel. Next to me is Michael Nolan, the bottom line, the one and only Michael Nolan. We just came from Michael's show. Michael goes live at 5. We're over there watching his show. And then when his show ends, we come over and watch my show. Michael's got the fastest growing YouTube channel I'm aware of. He's up in the 45,000 subscriber range. Huge audience, loyal following because he's got great content. Directly below Michael is my great friend, Dan McNew. I can say the same things about Dan. Dan's got a great show. He's been doing it for a long time. We've known each other, I don't know, we go back, I don't know, close to 5 years to the Talking Wax show. And we've co-hosted together and stuff like that before. Everybody check out Just the Facts Man, my good friend Dan here. Just the Facts Man's channel. He has great content. We're going to be doing an interview on this show next Sunday. Dan's got it all set up. We'll be talking about it during the week. I've been putting up advertisement for it. Dan's been putting up advertisement for it. Maybe before the show's over, we could kind of go over it a little bit, Dan.
Well, in fact, I'll go ahead and upload our promo video.
Oh, good, perfect. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so next to Dan is our good friend and consistent co-host, Chris Elliott. Appreciate seeing you here, Chris. Chris is always a valuable asset to the show, and this is looking more and more like what the lineup's going to be with some changes I'm going to be making in the future. So anyway, good to see you here, Chris, and appreciate it, and hope you guys all have something to say about interband conflicts. So we're going to get right into it, folks. But before we get right into it, I have to do this first. I have to give a shout out to some of the people that gave some support to the channel last week. Okay.
The devil, you say?
well, our friend Splitten Loudenboomer gave a super chat of $10. Thank you so much, Splitten. Rockin' Robin Bird came in with a super chat of $2.
The divine Rockin' Robin.
The divine, right? John Rouse bought a membership. Thank you, John. Appreciate seeing you in the membership. Stephen Fox, super chat of $5. P401, a super chat of 20,000 Colombian pesos. It's a lot of fun that he does that. He lives in Colombia. And, Dan knows him going all the way back to Talking Wax, too. He was there, too.
I keep telling everybody our audience is worldwide.
Oh, they are, yeah. And then P401 from Colombia came back and bought a membership. Joseph Blue bought a super chat for $2. And I got to say this. I don't know if she wanted me to bring it up or not. But Piccolina the cat she asked me for my address, and she mailed me something. And I didn't think, I had no idea what she was doing. But I got this wonderful picture of Piccolina the cat, a nice note on the back, about the channel and stuff. But she also sent along 1 troy ounce of silver. 1 troy ounce of silver with the crucifixion of Christ on the front. 0.999 silver, which is considered pure silver. And I thank you so much, Piccolina the cat. That was just so awesome. So we're going to be talking about conflicts, battles, interband, within the band, other bands. It's going to get interesting. So I think what we're going to do, let's see, we have somebody else down here. Oh, that's our promo. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody, we're going to play a promo right now for what's going to be my next Sunday's live show with Dan and everybody else that wants to come. So what we've got, we're going to add this right now and watch the promo. Here we go.
Well, that was enticing.
What happened?
Did that cut off too soon?
Yeah, that was way too soon.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought.
Hey there. So it's Paul Guerin here. Please join us in Royce in the House podcast on July 27th. I want you to watch it.
Okay, that was great. Okay, so that's what's happening on the show next week. We're interviewing Paul. Plays in a lot of different rock bands, doing great. And I'm really looking forward to it, Dan. Thank you, Dan. This was your contact. You got this all set up. It kind of happened by way of Amy Parody, who we both know from Talking Wax 5 years ago. Yeah, she dates this guy, right? I mean, yeah, something like that, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so we're going to talk about this, some of these conflicts now amongst bands, okay? So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Rock and roll's most famous feuds, right? Okay, so the front man for Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose, was on top of the world in the 90s, when the 90s dawned, okay? The band's first album, Appetite for Destruction, from 1987, ranks among the best-selling LPs of all time. In his 88, GNR's 88 follow-up, GNR Lies, went 5 times platinum. But while Rose was held high as the poster child for the Sunset Strip music scene, and this is where we start to get into the conflict here. Held high for the music scene, the Sunset Strip music scene, another sound was fermenting in the Pacific Northwest. Grunge was the antithesis of Hollywood's bright lights, and the genre's breakout band was Nirvana. Like many of his contemporaries, Cobain was staunchly anti-corporate rock and despised many of the 80 hair metal acts, including GNR. Initially, these contentious feelings were strictly one-sided, as Axl Rose actually he was a fan of Nirvana and invited them to tour with Guns N' Roses and Metallica. This was a tour I always tell you guys about that I had the tickets to at the Cow Palace, and the oldest daughter talked me out of those darn tickets, man, and I've never gotten over it, but that's how I was with my kids. They could talk me in or out of just about anything, okay?
Yeah.
So when it became clear that Cobain had no interest in being friends, Rose went on the offensive. They would rather sit at home, shoot heroin with their bitch wives than tour with us, Rose told Metal X magazine. Okay. Rose, on their Use Your Illusions tour in 91 and 92, leading to a road of words at the 92 MTV Music Awards, okay? So what it was all about, okay, first of all, as I'd already mentioned, it was a clash of styles. Guns N' Roses, with their glam metal, hard rock sound, were seen by many as the epitome of the excess of the 80s rock scene. Nirvana, on the other hand, embraced a raw, unpolished sound, anti-establishment attitude, rejecting the corporate image. So that's a big part of it. Cobain's criticism, he openly criticized Guns N' Roses in interviews, calling them the antithesis of Nirvana and rejecting and offered a tour with them alongside Metallica. Axl Rose also made a hurtful comment to Kurt Cobain about his wife, Courtney Love, who fronted the band Hole. I remember seeing some of their videos. It was interesting. The feud between Axl Rose and Kurt Cobain was fueled by contrasting musical styles, personalities, shifting landscape of rock. The conflict between the musicians, the heated feud that lasted for years. Anyway, it reached a boiling point at the 1992 MTV Awards, where they had a backstage confrontation with Rose reportedly threatening Cobain. Nirvana also performed their songs "Rape Me" and "Lithium," further fueling the conflict. Okay, so that's well. Here's what here's what Nirvana took exception to, and then what he actually said about Rose. The fricking guy, and I'm saying fricking, that's not what he said, is sexist, a racist, and a homophobe. You can't be on his side and on our side, Cobain once declared. I'm sorry I have to divide this up like this, but it's something you can't ignore. Besides, GNR can't write good music.
Agreed.
Okay, so anyway, that was the conflict, guys, and let's go ahead and let's see what we're all thinking about that. I wanted this to be more of an open forum. I don't know how many of you guys came prepared to offer up some of your own fights between rock stars. But what do we have to say about Cobain and GNR? I have to be honest. I was a fan of both. I liked Guns N' Roses. But I tell you what, when Nirvana came out, I went mad over the grunge genre. I was totally into that. And how about the rest of you guys? Let's talk about this for a minute.
I was too, but the only problem is they weren't around long enough to be my favorite grunge band. But they certainly, while they were there.
Right.
I liked probably them and like I've mentioned before, Alice in Chains, then Stone Temple Pilots.
Temple Pilots was amazing, yeah.
But
and I like every one of those bands.
Yeah. I think that Kurt Cobain just showed what a scholar and a gentleman he truly was. Because I agree with him. Guns N' Roses couldn't write songs to save shit, as far as I'm concerned.
What do the rest of you guys think?
Well, personally, I was never a fan of either one of those big guys. So I say let them fight it out.
You've got one cantankerous panel tonight, Royce.
No, that's good. I thrive on disagreement, guys. Don't ever think I
me
don't.
too. As long as we can all wind up friends in the end, it's fine.
Oh yeah. I want to give a big shout out here to Natalie Angelo. Thank you so much. A $20 super chat. That is just amazing, Natalie. I really appreciate it. You're a total rock star in my book.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. So Dan, you didn't like either one of them, huh?
Yeah, I say let them. They should have just fought it out. I don't know. Actually, I don't even know what the story is. So
yeah,
I got plead ignorant on that. I don't know what the fight was even really about.
Yeah, I had never heard of it either. But I'm not a major fan of Guns N' Roses, Dan. And then on top of that, to me, Nirvana was. I never read every interview. I was not even aware of his wife, except where there was this ditzy blonde hanging around him in photos. Yeah. I was a fan of the music in utero, the first Nirvana, for that fluff of time, they were fantastic, but they were out and gone before we knew it.
Look at James Watson's post. Courtney Love, which was his wife, in front of the band Hole. Courtney Love versus soap.
Courtney Love can use some soap in her mouth.
Anyhow,
my
opinion is
funny one.
I like both bands. I probably like Guns N' Roses more because they had been around a little longer, but I think Axl was just a whiny little pissant anyways. And if you don't believe me, just ask Slash. I mean, why do you think the band broke up? Even Slash got sick and tired of it.
Yeah, Slash left in '97 over all that nonsense. Yep.
Yeah. Well, you know, guys, Douglas Gilbert brought up Carlos Santana versus Gene Simmons. I think I've read something once, but I don't have any information on that tonight. Does anybody have anything on Carlos Santana, versus Gene Simmons? I would think they'd get along great, but that's just me.
I saw something.
Yeah.
I would imagine Gene Simmons started it.
Oh, yeah. You know, I've gained, I was never a Kiss fan. I have about 5 Kiss albums. Dan knows I had a whole panel for a while that was straight up Kiss fans. I mean, McVeigh and the Wizard and, Altini, they were all huge. I mean, these guys go to all the meet and greets and pay to get their pictures taken and get their albums autographed. And they've gotten to know these guys on personal levels and stuff. And as they were on my on my panel, there was 4 of them, huge Kiss fans. Everything ever. I mean, they had one of them had a Kiss pinball machine. They had all kinds of rarities and things like that. And I little by little, I started listening to Kiss, and then of course, Eric Singer, the drummer for Kiss, is godfather to my granddaughter. And I met Eric a couple of times. Come over to the house in the holidays, and met him in London when the Kiss was doing their end of the world tour in London, and we were all over there in Europe on vacation. So anyway, walked around London. So anyway, I got a little more interested in Kiss, bought some of their albums, liked some of their songs. I have Live 2. I have another greatest hits one that's not live, and I've got I can't even think of that. Let's go on. It's not important. But anyway, I did get into Kiss a little bit. So what do you guys think, Chris? Okay, let's move on then. I don't think anybody knows anything on the comment that's
right here.
So.
Hang on, I got something.
Okay,
I just looked it up on Google. It says,
oh, okay, good.
Gene Simmons versus Carlo. Okay, hang on. Let me get into this. It says Gene Simmons versus
Santana.
Of course, they got to put it at the bottom of the article, right? Or they advertise that they're going to show it on there. They're not going to put it on there.
Oh, jeez. How did that happen?
Yeah. They got all kinds of commercials on here. Here we go. It seems like... Okay. I had it and then it fucking moved. Maybe it doesn't want me to read it? Again, come back to me. I'll find it.
Oh, okay. I'm loving some of these chat messages. The chat's doing an awesome job. James Watson. Yoko versus Singing in Key. Michael Chavez. John Paul and George versus Pete Best. Dr. Rick. Hey, Michael Chavez. Okay. Somebody said we were supposed to have Michael Nolan versus... did anybody remember what that was? Michael Nolan versus Motley Crue.
Oh,
yeah. George P.
All right, I found the article on Gene Simmons.
Let me just read this one real quick. What about...
my reply to that, Royce, is no, actually, we're just very good friends.
Okay. All right, Chris, go ahead.
All right. So it says it seems like it took a while for Carlos Santana anti-Kiss statements to take off both the band resident demon Gene Simmons. Once he fired back, he did so in unrestrained fashion. Okay. Back in 2005, Santana said of Simmons, he's not a musician, he's an entertainer. Kiss is Las Vegas entertainment, so he wouldn't know what music is anyway. That's why he wears all that stuff. At first, the Kiss bassist took the insult in stride. Not everyone likes the same meal. But 4 years later, he suddenly struck back. I'm sick and tired of these bands like Carlos Santana looking at his shoes and thinking that's a rock concert. Get off the stage. Well, Carlos can do that because he actually plays music, and, I agree. They had some good songs here and there, but I think they're way overrated. I know Caitlin's going to reach through the screen and grab me, but they're just overrated.
Chris, that's part of the problem, see, is that that's kind of what rock became. Kiss doesn't ring my chimes. They put out, I think, 2 albums that I would like to get. They're not a bad band, but they're so freaking average. It is ridiculous. And I love Alice Cooper. So the makeup, it doesn't offend me, but I only have room in my life for one band or artist with makeup. And that's always been Alice Cooper. As a matter of fact, I didn't get into David Bowie because I was into Alice Cooper. I'm sorry, you only one, And so, but then when he went into his Young Americans tour, kind of started looking dapper, and I loved hit after hit. Then I got into him. Then I got into his glam section, and he was great. I missed him. Damn it, But the thing is, when you're talking about Kiss versus Carlos Santana, and at least 2 others on this channel or on this panel can absolutely ascertain this. We come from a generation where looking at your shoe was showmanship. The guitarists, especially, were so freaking into their instrument, and so were we. That was part of the show. That's part of, we talked about on my channel tonight, right. Are we living in the last days of rock? Is this the days of the rock lords of the last days, right? And a part of the problem to me is it's all show. We're losing elements that, what happened to the audience? Looking over the liner notes, collecting, and of course, it's not going to happen like it did before, but there should be an online kind of response for that, and I think that's where a lot of our channels, your channel, my channel, people who talk about rock, classic rock, we're going to have to be, the procurers of the art as the years go. People like Chris and generations younger than Chris can learn by whatever footprint we put, and each of us have our own temperaments and everything. It's almost, Royce, like we are the four. Never mind.
Okay. Yeah, that's coming soon. I just haven't worked out all the details.
What's coming soon, Royce? I didn't catch that.
Just a little tweak to the channel name with a little visual that goes along with it. And
I am such a shit disturber, aren't I, Royce?
I'm just trying to figure out how to do it right. I don't want the new part to overpower the old part. I want it to be smaller but noticeable and eye-catching. You know what I'm saying? I know that makes no sense to anybody, but it's coming. Frank James, hey Frank, we haven't seen you here in a while. Boy, we just had some bomb-ass comments, in the chat. I mean, and Natalie, thank you for your comment. But I mean, George Pita and so many of them, and they were just hitting it out of the park. But anyway, so I tell you what, guys, I'm going to have to quit scrolling in the chat. As much as I love doing that, there's so many great things. And, Carlos Santana musicianship is triple everybody in Kiss combined. You know what I'm saying?
Slash is a great guitar player. Carlos Santana is one of the top 5 or 6 guitarists on planet Earth. There's no comparison. Slash is fine. He ain't no Carlos Santana. Not by far. Not by far.
Hey, no, not by far. Hey, Natalie, I've got a video of my granddaughter singing Beth with Kiss's Eric Singer. You got to be careful bringing that up because usually when somebody does, I'll show it. Okay. Let's go find us another feud. Okay. Well, this is what everybody can relate to, right? This is Neil Young versus Lynyrd Skynyrd, right? Everybody knows this story. Okay, Lynyrd Skynyrd got upset when Neil Young criticized Southern U.S. racism with his lyrics in the songs Southern Man and Alabama. Okay, this inspired Lynyrd Skynyrd to write their biggest hit and signature song, Sweet Home Alabama. Okay. The feud never escalated, and they end up being friendly with one another. They both supported each other's work and also sang each other's songs in concert. So that's a pretty happy ending there, folks.
Yeah, they were going to record with each other too until the plane crashed.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that, Dan. Really?
Yeah.
My mouse is having trouble here. Everything was having trouble before the show started, so I'm really glad to be here.
All right. Well, you're doing that, Royce. I got one.
Okay.
People might not think of it all the time, but is Plant and Bonham versus Jones and Page when they didn't show up to Plant's child's funeral.
His funeral. That
Bonham
really
was the only one that kept that band together at that point in time.
That really did cause a lot of pain for Robert.
An irreparable rift.
Yeah.
That's just one that's a little, it was just a minor feud, but it had lasting effects.
No, it had lasting effects. I mean, that are still lingering today. It could be one of the reasons why you just can't get those two guys together again.
Quite likely. At least not for anything long term.
Anything long term. Vince Neil, Jersey Devil. Vince Neil went on MTV in 1991 and challenged Axl Rose to an actual fist fight. That would have been interesting. Hopefully they would have filmed that. We could have all watched it later.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think about Lynyrd Skynyrd? I like the way Lynyrd Skynyrd, good old Southern boys, had no problem getting back together with Neil Young and letting all bygones be bygones and even playing each other's songs in concert. To me, that's class right there. These other guys fighting at the MTV Awards, that's a different story altogether. Although I understand that too. That happens, all right? People get angry.
Well, my opinion on the Neil Young and Lynyrd Skynyrd thing is I like Neil Young's songs, but I tell you what, he was singing about racism and segregation and all that, which was a good thing to sing about.
Oh,
but
yeah.
He painted a broad brush on everybody in the South.
He sure did.
Everybody in the South is not racist, and so that's why Lynyrd Skynyrd.
That's right.
That's why Lynyrd Skynyrd replied, "Hey, don't call everybody racist." Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right, Dan. We don't need no Neil Young round anyhow.
And another thing that kind of sparked it up too is that Neil Young is from Canada, so it's like, dude,
Right. Oh yeah, that's right. Hey, Ben Scheidegger, I just want you to know that we will be covering the David Gilmour Roger Waters split. Okay. And,
we heard not to.
some of the things that contributed to it. I'm sure there were more than what we'll be covering.
Jersey Devil brought up one that I'm very familiar with. It's towards one of the newer ones about Pantera. After Dimebag Darrell was killed, there was a big I wouldn't say power struggle, but a lot of finger pointing after the murder. Basically, Vinnie Paul was basically accusing Phil Anselmo of indirectly responsible for Dimebag's murder.
Oh, I never heard any of this, Dan.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because what had happened was after the breakup of Pantera, they were trying to get a hold of Phil, and they could never get a hold of Phil, and they wanted to move on. So they went ahead and since they couldn't get a hold of Phil, and Phil was the stumbling block of this whole thing, they started talking in magazine interviews. And I guess Dimebag said something about one of the reasons Pantera broke up is because of Phil's drug use. And Phil gets interviewed, and he denies the drug use. And he says, somebody needs to beat Dimebag Darrell severely. And it was just several weeks after that, Dimebag was murdered.
Man.
And Vinny pretty much said because of those interviews, that's why the murder happened. But there is no evidence of that. There's no evidence that there was any connection. But, Vinny held that grudge till his death in 2018.
Wow.
Never did make amends.
That's a fascinating story. I never heard that before. Let me give a couple of quick shout outs. George, Music for All 4 Seasons is here. Everybody go check George's channel out. He's got a great podcast. Caitlin Stoddard's here. Kate's Magical Corner. We all support Kate. We're like family with Kate. I catch her show. I try to be there at least once a week. She goes twice a week. And oftentimes I'll run into folks like Michael Noland and Dawson and others over there that I know.
Well, I'm over there more times than not.
I know you are.
Yeah.
You're a big supporter, just like she is for us,
Oh yeah, she supports my channel too. But I've always supported Caitlin right from the get-go. The only time I don't get over there is if I'm shooting a video for my channel.
Right.
And lately that hasn't been happening a whole lot. I've made almost all of hers for the last couple of months.
She goes a lot while I'm out on a construction site with saws and hammers and nail guns going.
Oh yeah.
Like that. So it's not always that easy for me, but
I know it
isn't. Just a few days lately, and I've been able to get in there. I even caught some of James's show earlier today, and he let me know that they're going to do a part 2 for that interview. I watched that whole interview after it was over on Melissa's channel. Anyway, Winslow's here and Jersey Devil's here. Frank Blondie is here. He's mentioning Johnny Rotten versus the Sex Pistols. That would have been good. Dr. Rick calling out Winslow. Bob Dylan versus Springsteen, laughing out loud. Tim Henry of Music Life. I would like to be a moderator. Oh, okay. I don't know if I can. I wasn't able to do that for someone last week. Let's see. Sometimes we can add it right here. No, all I've got is delete a comment, put you in timeout, or ban user and delete their comment. That's all that's available to me right now. But I can do that when the show's up. No problem whatsoever, Tim. You're more than welcome.
Joseph. Is it Tim? I thought you were talking about Joseph.
No, it's Tim. And every once in a while, I'll go through and just add a bunch of people that have been showing up routinely. And then it builds up a little bit again, and I got to go back and add more. So I will definitely do that, Tim. Definitely do that. Okay. Like Rockin' Robin Bird, I recently added her. Anyway, so let's move on down. Natalie, Bob Dylan versus Springsteen, laughing out loud. That's funny. Let's see. Winslow Red Cross is here. Piccolina the cat. Piccolina, I don't know if you were here when I gave you a shout out and thanked you for the wonderful gifts that you sent me. I really appreciate it. Okay, thanks so much. Winslow, let's do a little quick look in the chat. I know I'm probably like 30 minutes behind on the chat, and I'm never going to catch up, and we all know that. I'm probably going to have to start skipping a little bit just to get anywhere close, because it's terrible when you finally get to comments that are addressing something that happened 20 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Let's take a look at another substantial feud that's taken place. And this one is Kid Rock versus Tommy Lee, from the drummer from Motley Crue. And both men, of course, were married to the same woman, Pamela Anderson, and they were both infamously known for their infamous rock and roll lifestyle. Infamouses are being stacked here, Now, this feud escalated into physical violence, folks, at the 2007 MTV Video Music Awards. Kid Rock punched Tommy Lee, and they both had to be separated by security. Okay, so we'll just discuss that for a few minutes and see if anybody else has anything to say about a rock feud that we can discuss now. And then we're going to come up. The next one's going to be between, and Michael's going to like this. It's going to be Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson's feud.
Oh boy! And
what caused that? So Grace Slick versus Ted Nugent. That's funny. Carlos is a god on the guitar. George Pita, I agree 1,000%. From the moment I saw him, he didn't have any albums out when he performed at Woodstock. Jerry Garcia, he used to open for the Grateful Dead band at Golden Gate Park and places like that in the Bay Area. He got him in there. And from the moment I saw him play at Woodstock, was it 1969, 70? Me and all my friends became huge fans. Santana just blew up. We loved him.
Hey, I've seen him twice, but then the last, I don't know, I'd say 8 years, and at the casino here in Windsor. Oh, he is amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
Like the first time he played a lot of his longer instrumental pieces, so he, a different tone than when he's playing his rockers and everything. Man, he's amazing.
Right. Hey, Michael. Novice Nick wants to know, it's up on the screen, is Michael revising his list from last week?
What list?
I don't know. I think he's just being funny,
Our solo list, maybe, or something.
The what?
Guitar solo list, maybe. I don't know.
James,
did I mention a guitar? Wait a minute. Santana 5 or 6. Yeah. There's a tribal list where Santana's in the top 10 or 11 that I speak about, Nick. And then there's my own private list. And I believe my initial list for my channel, I had Santana at number 5 at one point. I readjusted it as I started listening more and more. My lists do get revised from time to time, primarily because of me being on my own channel and everything. I'm re-listening to a lot of stuff that I thought I knew real well, and hearing new stuff, new approaches. So lists will, as a matter of fact, before I'm through, we will probably have an update on the top 13 bands at one point. I'll leave it there for, a year, and then we'll do it all over again, because tastes change.
Yes, they do.
Respectives change. You listen to something at 70 years old, you're not hearing it with 15-year-old ears, but the 15-year-old memories are there. And you go, oh, when I was a kid, I didn't notice that organ part kind of simmering in the background kind of thing. And so I'll adjust. I've adjusted my top Led Zeppelin albums a couple of times since I've been on the channel. It's a living, breathing art form, Nick, and it should live and breathe with all of us. What is my number one Beatle album this year may not be my number one Beatle album next year. Well, I keep holding off revising.
That happens.
Royce, you were talking about great feuds. The greatest feud of them all is the Beatles feud. Paul McCartney versus the other three Beatles. Michael Jackson's feud with him was a bad one. I mean, Michael Jackson, was working with Paul, and Paul was giving him advice. How do you do your how do you invest your money, Paul? And he go, well, I get into publishing because that's what I've done. And Paul became a billionaire because of publishing, even over his music with the Beatles and as a solo artist and with Wings. So he goes, yeah, I'm into that. I bought Buddy Holly's stuff. I own that stuff. And so Michael then turns to him and goes, one of these days I'm going to buy your music. And Paul went, yeah, oh, okay.
And Paul had first right of refusal to buy it.
And everybody says how Michael Jackson did him dirty. What about Yoko Ono, who refused to match him in funds to get that stuff? She wasn't going to play ball with Paul. And so that turned sour. But then the greatest feud in rock to me is the biggest band in rock is the Beatles. When Paul McCartney had to sue the rest of the Beatles in order to save the Beatles' legacy, all three Beatles years later said Paul was in the right, but he went in to the point of freezing Beatle assets, getting a judge to freeze the Beatles' assets. Paul was, I brought this up on my stream last week on Wednesday.
Okay.
Paul, so all his money was tied up in receivership, right? And so In the meantime, the Beatles had this big thing. Paul was going to release the McCartney album. They said, no, we're going to release Let It Be. They sent Ringo over to Paul because Paul wasn't listening to him. They were fighting pretty much all the time at this point. Paul's gotten Ringo's face, raised his face, now bloody finish you, and told him to get out. The Beatles came back by his house and threw bricks through his window. So yeah, all this stuff was happening, right?
Wow,
and then Paul winds up, and he had the McCartney scheduled first, really. Okay, he had his whole thing set up and ready to go. So officially, he was in the right. Could Paul have just said, yeah, for the sake of the Beatles, maybe I'll hold this off? Yeah, he could have, but for whatever reason, he didn't. He felt like he had been taken off the Let It Be project, during all this point, that he wasn't being listened to, and he wasn't going to be listening to anybody else. And then, so he's in receivership, and he puts out the Ram album, right? And he purposefully crafted this album. This is my favorite Paul McCartney album of all time. Mm-hmm. Rolling Stone was willing to give it a thumbs up. That's what the reviewer was going to do it. Jan Winter, the dirty dog of dirty dogs, then managing editor of Rolling Stone magazine, said, "Oh no, you don't. You're going to give that a thumbs down." In the meantime, all three Beatles, Ringo, George, and John, were bad-mouthing not only McCartney, but Ram itself. McCartney had a couple of poignant little things like, you took your lucky break and you broke it in two. Now what can be done to you for you? Aimed directly at John. My dog, he got 3 legs. Your dog, he got 1. There were 4 Beatles. Now there's 3 legs and 1, right? A lot of Beatle references, but it's still a masterpiece. And it continued. Now, in every interview, all three, Ringo, John, and George, hated Paul's music, cut it down. John being buddy with Jan Winter, who sucked at his tit all the time, right? And all these interviews that John was doing, and a lot of negative Paul stuff. Jan Winter, buddy to John, putting the Knicks in Rolling Stone. It hurt Paul. Matter of fact, Paul even said, and this is kind of a trick he played, he said that half the songs on Ram were written by him and Linda. And the idea was to free up monies that he would earn in the publishing so that they could survive, because he was trying to save the Beatles' legacy. Yeah. That album did not sell well, like it should have at all. I mean, it's a McCartney album. It did okay.
Right,
but this was a freaking masterpiece. And the vile back and forth. And Yoko right in the midst of it. Everybody's sucking at Yoko's tit these days. Shame on him. Oh no, you haven't heard enough of Yoko's music. I've heard it all. I still don't like her best stuff. Okay? You're wrong, you're fucking wrong.
It's easy to get saturated there quickly.
Good God. So anyway, and then when Paul could get a grip on this, and it would have been good for Yoko too, she wasn't going to play any more games, even though the dirty dog Biddy sent Paul off to the East Coast to save John from his long lost weekend, and he did it out of the goodness of his heart, that here's how you get back with Yoko. She's a manipulating dragon lady. All right? All you Yoko fans, enough. Good Lord.
Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate hearing that, and yeah. And
but to me, what greater feud, Royce? What greater feud is there?
No. I read much of that today. I did.
Yeah.
And I really wanted that to come from, like, you, for example.
Uh-huh.
You specifically, because you're the biggest Beatles fan on the panel, and I preferred that would come from you.
Yeah. Yeah, I had just covered this, but I didn't cover it quite as concise as I just did but on my last stream, and it's always pissed me off. Now I'm a major John Lennon fan. I've said my number one guy is Paul, only because John was murdered by a dirty dog, and and so Paul was not with us longer, and there was some great masterpieces after John. All right, and so he's my go-to guy because he continued to supply great music. But up until the day John died, if John had an album, I was out. I'd go, he wants that John album. I need it. You know, and if George had I want that George album. I need it. So I was buying all of their stuff except for Ringo after the Ringo album. I lost interest in him. But not as a drummer, not as one of my favorite heroes in rock, but just I just he doesn't deliver for me. He really doesn't. He's best with one or two songs with the Beatles to me.
Yeah, no, he played his role. I mean, everybody liked.
Oh no, he didn't just play his role. He is one of the best drummers in rock, deceptively so. Maybe not top 10, but his approach and everything. There are listen to. He even says there's drumming, and then there's me on what was it? Is it Rain? Rain, the song Rain. He says, I don't know what happened to me. You know, crazy stuff. They've held drum clinics showing his whole approach and
I can imagine
his timing and everything. Because he's an underrated rock drummer. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And he was key to the Beatles' success because of his drumming alone.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Okay, I'm gonna scroll the chat here. Rockin' Robin Bird brought up John Bon Jovi versus Sebastian Bach, and I hadn't heard about that conflict. I've met Sebastian Bach. You know, he was coming to a local winery here that my son-in-law was setting concerts up at, and he played. He even offered my son-in-law a job as his bass player, but he'd been down that road before, and he wasn't going to do it. I mean, my son-in-law toured, I don't know, South America with Gilby Clarke, who was a guitar player for a while with Guns N' Roses. But anyway, then George Pita's here, and Natalie's like, that poor guy was murdered on stage. Yeah, she's talking about, of course, Dimebag.
Yeah.
Rockin' Robin, I remember the Pantera feud. Okay, Jeffrey Flint, just funnin', I miss Sonny. Natalie, the worst concert was the Stones at Altamont. Oh yeah, where the Hell's Angels were hired for security and they killed somebody. That was horrible, and that was a free concert too. There was somebody giving back. Paul, what is your issue here? Jeffrey Flint, with Gilmore as well. Got to go with Gilmore as well. Absolutely, that's what I said. Roger Waters just gets too crazy and political. George, music for all four seasons. Thank you, Royce. You're quite welcome, George. It's so good to see you, brother. Jersey Devil saw Pantera live in the 90s. Nice. Amazing show. Michael Chavez, The Wall was the last true Pink Floyd album. Well, that's really interesting. I may agree with you. George Pita, sad that rock and roll can't keep it together. So many great musicians have gone way before their time. Yeah, that's usually drug and alcohol related. Okay, so let's go on down. Let's go back. I get to skip the whole Beatles thing. Thank you, Michael.
Hey, by the way, I disagree. I think the Division Bell is a great Pink Floyd album. It doesn't have Waters on it, but it's good. It's good.
I have that on a CD that someone made, and it's not a real good copy, but I can tell that it's good. And I have a lot of albums I'm still short of.
Yeah, I can hear you though when you say, "Hey, look, it's not really Pink Floyd anymore," because especially if you see them as an iconic band defined by core membership.
Yes.
I don't quite see them that way because they replaced Sid Barrett to begin with. So they have a replacement to begin with. So I was open to the Division Bell. It's very Pink Floyd. It's a great album to have in the background while you're doing stuff around the house too. both as a deep listen and as a casual listen.
That's exactly right. Okay, so the next one I'm going to bring up, and we've all heard about this. It's Ike and Tina Turner. Okay. Apparently, Ike survived some deep trauma. Somebody's making excuses for him from his childhood. That hits people two different ways. Things happened to me in my childhood. I'm going to make sure they don't happen to my kids in their childhood.
Yeah.
I don't go out and say, well, I can't help why I'm beating everybody. I got beat. Of course I got beat. I never listened. I never listened, and I ignored all the warnings.
My daddy was a woman carouser and a drinker, and I didn't let that define me, so I don't let rock stars' excuses really get into my head either, Royce.
That's right. So, yeah. Okay. So Tina Turner lived through regular physical and emotional abuse from her spouse for years. And I think we all knew that, sometime forcing herself to sing and dance after being battered. Tina later recounted in her 2018 memoir, My Love Story, that several sexual encounters with her then husband were an expression of hostility. A kind of like a rape. It was like being raped, especially when it began or ended with a beating. The sex began or ended with a beating, okay? I guess that was common too. Turner admitted he took Tina for granted and called her the best. Now, this is Ike talking in his own book, okay, his autobiography, okay? I want to point that out. He admitted he took his wife Tina for granted and called her the best woman I ever knew. In his autobiography, he said, "Sure, I've slapped Tina. We had fights, and there have been times when I punched her to the ground without thinking." In her memoir, Turner wrote, "He used my nose as a punching bag so many times that I could taste blood running down my throat when I was singing. He broke my jaw, and I couldn't remember what it was like not to have a black eye. By 1976, Turner reached her breaking point and left Ike." Okay. So, I mean, that is, I did a show on Tina Turner, and she was amazing. I grew up in the Vegas area. You'd see Tina on stage, and she'd be on the late night shows. And I mean, and she was a big hit everywhere she went. Her dancing, her legs. She was famous for her legs, the way she danced and stuff like that. So, okay, guys, what do you think about the abuse poor Tina Turner took all those years?
Awful.
Yeah, there's nothing else you can say about it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And I mean, Ike, he was just to some degree a jealous whiner. I mean, by that I mean, like, even when Hendrix was there, Hendrix was doing good work with him. He fired Hendrix because he was being, the head of the show. Tina, she was like taking all the attention away from him.
Yeah. Right.
Behind closed doors.
She was obviously stealing the show. I mean, it's not like he wasn't a talented guy,
Oh, he was great
and contributed a lot to the genre and stuff. A jealous bastard, right. And maybe just a mean bastard too.
Yes, mean, jealous, whatever. You can add as many
exactly
pronouns as you want in there.
Just think. You're a casual human being. I don't care whether they're guilty of doing this or not. Just think of the mindset when they're sitting there, not looking at themselves in the mirror. How could you possibly defend that shit?
No, impossible.
There is no way. See, just your average intelligent human being knows that's fucking sick.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, that's right.
That's what he was. He was a pig shit. That's all he was.
That's exactly right. He was a bad.
Yeah, I've run into people like this,
Oh, we all have. All have. I had friends that used to slap their girlfriends around and stuff when they were drinking. It just made me sick,
Yeah.
But
it won't be done in front of me. Won't be done in front of me ever. I'll put an end to that shit right then and there.
I had some of that too.
Yeah.
As far as putting an end to it. Val brought up a really good one, Michael. We've had these conversations before. John Fogerty versus the rest of Creedence and his old record label.
Big one there.
I remember we remember having a long conversation about when he finally got his music back a couple of years back, maybe 3 years ago.
Well, he got sued over his own song because it sounded like his own songs.
Yeah, he sounded too much like his old songs, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ronnie James Dio, Ben Scheidegger, Ronnie James Dio versus Vivian Campbell. That's interesting.
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, right. Okay, Jersey Devil. We've got Don Henley with anyone he meets, and the Eagles are on my list. It's on my list. Okay. In fact, I think we'll get back over there right now to my list because Pink Floyd is what we're going to talk about next. The original feuding within Pink Floyd primarily involves Roger Waters and David Gilmour. Their conflict stems from creative differences, leadership struggles, that's not hard to imagine, and personal animosity that escalated after Waters' departure in '85. This has manifested into public disputes, legal battles, ongoing sniping, and even a brief reunion for Live 8, okay? So they were divided during the sessions for The Wall in '79. Gilmour, Nick Mason, Rick Wright grew frustrated with Waters' unwillingness, I should say, to compromise in the studio. He forced his way into becoming the central figure. That's what Gilmour told Rolling Stone magazine in 1987. Waters, for his part, claimed he was pushed into the role of creative taskmaster due to the diminishing input of his less talented bandmates. Okay. I know that's brutal, man. There was no point in Gilmour, Mason, and Wright trying to write lyrics, Waters countered in Rolling Stone, because they'll never be as good as mine. Gilmour's lyrics, says Waters, were very third rate. Okay, now that was a pretty brutal beatdown by Gilmour on everybody else in the band, but that's the way he comes off,
Well, keep in mind at this point in history, he is leaving the band. That's important to keep in mind with this whole feud.
No, that's true.
He didn't break the band up. He didn't demand the band be broken up or put into receivership, or he left the band. And I'll tell you the reason why he just left. If he could go back in time, he would have done this totally different, is because this is the ego of the man. He truly thought they could not survive
without him.
And I always say, I think, it's not the top, but it's in the middle of their albums, in the upper middle, the Division Bell. Now, a lot of people don't like it because Sweet Polly Purebred gets to write the lyrics on a lot of the songs in there. And I meant Polly Sampson, which is David Gilmour's wife. And she's amongst Pink Floyd fans. She's kind of the Yoko Ono, I think, of the band. Ben Snyderkin just gave you a $5 super thanks, Royce.
I disagree. The Yoko Ono of Pink Floyd is Roger Waters. Sorry.
I am so far out of sync with the chat right now because I'm so far behind it that I have just scrolled 2 pages. Ben, thank you, brother. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this. I'm gonna write it down like I always do. Thank you so much, Ben. Appreciate it, man. You're a good guy. A good guy. You're really supportive. I see you over at Michael's. You're supportive of Michael, and you're
Ben
totally
is very tribal.
You're totally appreciated. Thanks so much. Wow, I had to scroll 2 pages. That's how far behind you get in the chat when you're busy. And like I said, Ben is a real asset to the show too. If you look back at Ben's comments, and there were just great ones. All the stuff he brought up, he was bringing up Roger Waters and Pink Floyd, and he started early too. He started some time back. Anyway, so
I wanted to
definitely
take
appreciate
the
that.
conversation from what Chris just said. You said that Pink Floyd has to have Roger Waters,
No, no, no.
or
I was just being a smartass. You were talking about Yoko
oh,
whenever I said, in a
oh,
sense, after the breakup, after the Roger Waters is Pink Floyd's Yoko Ono.
right, right, yeah. Okay, I see what you're
You
doing
see
there.
what I'm saying?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Good one. I love it.
Well, I really like, what Ben's saying here is exactly what we all think, that he can't think of a more polarizing feud than the one with Gilmore and Waters that has divided an entire fan base. An entire fan base, guys. They both deserve equal credit. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Ben. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pink
I've
Floyd
seen
wouldn't
it.
be there. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Yeah, I've seen entire fan bases split many times before. And
Yeah.
it seemed like you would think that the band would realize that they would try to work things out to keep everybody together, but
Everybody
Yeah.
together. Exactly. Yeah, no, I've seen that a lot. And I keep hearing about the Oasis brothers. That's a pretty prominent feud that's out there. I didn't put it on my list because there was so many to choose from. If it wasn't for
Besides, theoretically, they're back. I'm not sure I buy that, but
okay,
with Pantera
and the Kinks
after
brothers feuded too. That's right, Alval. Go
with
ahead,
Pantera,
Dan.
once
Yep.
they reformed his Damage Plan, at every show, Dimebag would tell the audience, "We never turned our backs on you. We've always been with you." So he wanted to make sure that everybody knew that him and his brother, wanted the music for the entire fan base, not just a few. They,
right.
every show they'd make that announcement.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree with Ben here too, Michael. I think you just said something similar. Cannot stand it when people argue who was the greatest Pink Floyd.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it was a group effort. Roger Waters was absolutely essential to their what most people would consider their very best stuff. There is no doubt about it. He was the lyricist at the least for the band, okay,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
sometimes lyricist and composer, sometimes co-composer and
yeah.
lyricist. He
Right.
played several roles, and he truly the band, to not talk Roger Waters and Pink Floyd would be ludicrous. I mean, he's a big fan of him while with the band. I liked his first two albums. After that, I lost interest. Okay. And then he started opening his mouth, or at least, and then I became aware that he was opening his mouth. And I think the man isolates his own audience, his own fanship, and a man that would do that, in my mind, is probably the instigator of Trouble in Paradise with Pink Floyd. Now, go back in time. Royce, you said that Richard Wright, David Gilmour, and Nick Mason were
Yes.
getting more frustrated with him. That's actually not true. Nick Mason and David Gilmour were, but Richard Wright had already been kicked out of the band by him. And those two actually went
Okay.
along with that. Okay, so he was essentially fired from the band, but they agreed to keep his image on albums, and he was a sideman. He got aced out directly by Roger Waters. Now, a man who will isolate his fan base and get a core member who was right there. And one of the singers of my favorite Pink Floyd song of all time, Echoes, all right, the nicest guy in the band, and gets him kicked out, then leaves. Remember, we covered this. Leaves, not tries to disband, not tries any receivership tricks, and leaves because his ego tells him they can't possibly. There's only Nick left and David anyway. This band's done. Ha ha ha. Maybe not, Roger. All right. So you wonder. Now, I hate. It's usually David Gilmour's wife, Polly Sampson, that gets him into trouble. She's the one that can't keep her mouth shut. All right. She has to respond to everything that Roger Waters has to say. And so she's kept that fire burning. right, the whole time. However, when it comes to the things that she's concerned about, I'm concerned about. And I don't care whether you like his politics or not. When you've got a paying crowd, that's incendiary. That's like yelling fire in a crowded theater. Right?
Right.
And that's against the law.
Right. Let me ask you guys. Can you guys all see the message I have up right now at the bottom of the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the panel's thoughts on Van Halen and Robert Plant collaboration?
What, at this point in time? There's no Van Halen left.
No. I know. Well, they were touring there was a tribute to it.
I know that was, but we're talking about a real Van Halen, right?
Right.
So basically, Alex Van Halen and Robert Plant.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Well, Robert Plant has a new album coming out called Saving Grace, and I've heard his new song. He's too busy creating music for some damn Van Halen reunion tour. Good God.
Why would he lower himself to that anyways?
No kidding, Chris. Why not pick a singer who isn't creating? There's a dozen trillion of them. Maybe you can get Ozzy on the throne one more time.
I'd like to see that.
I know you would, Roy. So would I.
He looked angry that they ended when they did. When he turned around and kind of yelled at everybody.
Well, they said that actually they brought him out a cake and everything. That it didn't come off quite the way it looked. They edited it wrong at the end. They made it look like he was just being left. And that wasn't true.
I wonder if he was expecting, because they had 6 songs that they're supposed to play. They only played 4. I wonder if he was aware that they cut 2 of those songs out because they had a curfew.
It might have been, It was like,
I know that Tony said they practiced 5 or 6. The last thing I heard was that they were pretty much stuck on that and had agreed not to do an encore, which to me is crazy.
Well, I heard Tony actually say that Black Sabbath was one of the songs they were supposed to play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he did say that. He said that they had rehearsed Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And that they had rehearsed to play more. I don't
Fairy Boots is the other one.
Oh God, and that would have been would have made up for Sweet Leaf, the lack of Sweet Leaf for me.
Right. Okay. So Hagar versus Roth. I read a little bit about that today. I didn't know how much they battle behind the scenes. The only time I saw Van Halen was when they reunited with David Lee Roth and went on tour. They came up here to Paso Robles Fairgrounds. The fair is ongoing right now. It's this time every year, but a lot of good concerts going on up there. But anyway,
I think the biggest feud there is not so much between Hagar and Roth, but between Hagar and Eddie Van Halen.
Mm-hmm.
Sammy had some bad things to say about Eddie.
Yeah, that's
even
right.
Even after his death, he still talks bad about him. It's like, wow.
Yeah, that's harsh.
I think it was something that went down either during or after the tour for Balance. I mean,
part of it was that Sammy said he was the leader of the band, and that when David Lee Roth was in, David was the leader of the band, and Eddie was making some managerial changes and taking away that power structure from Sammy.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Eddie kind of just went along with it. He kind of let these guys do that, and he could have stopped it at any time. Al Val, more like Hagar versus Eddie. Yeah. More like Hagar versus Eddie. That's correct.
What about the Wilson sisters from Heart?
Were they feuding too? Too?
Well, Ann's kids got in a bus and touched something that they shouldn't, and the other sister's husband got pissed off. They almost came to blows if it didn't actually come to blows. It was something like that.
It seems almost like you can find conflict everywhere you look. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's there. I mean, you can only spend so much time together. Like whether it's with your wife or your buddy or whatever, at some point you get on each other's nerves a little bit and something goes wrong, goes
Yeah,
sideways, you know.
I can give you a quick little rundown on that feud. I've got it
Yeah,
here.
go ahead. Yeah.
It says, you may think it's convenient to be in a band with your siblings, but blood runs thicker than water, but not always in a good way. Yeah, that's right. There are several things
Okay.
that may have contributed to the falling out of Ann and Nancy Wilson. The first was a case of assault involving Ann's husband, Dean Welter, who was arrested for violent acts towards Nancy's twins, who were 16 at the time. He
Oh,
pled
wow.
guilty to her lesser assault charges and avoided jail time. Next came a tour offer that was turned down. Apparently, Ann wanted to take a new crew of guys on the road that Nancy wasn't comfortable with, so it never saw the light of day. And then recent reports reveal that Nancy wants to make Heart more of a tribute act, while Ann wants to write new material. In any event, the two maintain that they have a good relationship, but just having professional disagreements. Meanwhile, Nancy has been taking her vision of Heart on the road with a new singer, Kimberly Nicol, who was a finalist on season 8 of The Voice, and Ann's working on solo projects.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know about the kids until I read that, though. He must have, I don't even want to know what he might have done.
Yeah, Al Val, we covered Lynyrd Skynyrd versus Neil Young. It was one of the first ones. It might have been the second one we did. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here, folks? We have Fleetwood Mac. Okay,
Oh,
they oh my God, I know. They experienced several significant feuds, primarily centered around relationships. Imagine that, and creative differences within the band. Okay, creative differences is always part of it. Okay, long-standing feud between Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham, stemming from their romantic breakup, impacting their personal dynamics. Additionally, the McVies, John and Christine, divorced amidst the band tensions and personal struggles. Mick Fleetwood also had a brief affair with Nicks, adding another layer of complexity. So anyway, so what were the key feuds? Okay, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. Their romantic relationship ended during the creation of the Rumors album, and their subsequent personal and professional interactions were marked by conflict and tension. Buckingham was ultimately fired from the band in 2018 after Nicks reportedly gave the band an ultimatum. So he publicly discussed the alleged jealousy and their fragmented relationship, while Nicks, largely remained silent. Stevie Nicks. So okay,
now they're writing each other love letters online.
I read something about that too.
Yeah, so, they're gonna release the Buckingham Nicks album, re-release it, and Stevie wrote the beginning passage of one of the songs on there, and then he wrote the end of it. She wrote it like ... And I've already covered this like 6 months, 8 months ago. Mick Fleetwood has been working to get that band back together, and I had predicted that they would find a way. We even discussed on my channel who would they replace Christine McVie with and what had to happen and all of that. And I just figured it was one of those things that I called wrong. Now, as of today, I might not be wrong, Royce.
Maybe the only thing you were wrong about is thinking you were wrong, right?
It might be that simple. Isn't that amazing?
Right.
Because everything was there except Nick remained resolute in everything she said, that it wasn't going to happen. And yet here we get, isn't that just like a woman?
Another significant contributing factor.
Oh my God.
John and Christine McVie, the McVies also divorced during the Rumors era, with Christine citing the strain of being in the band with John with his drinking, and his behavior, drinking, also contributing to the breakdown of the marriage. Fleetwood and Nicks had a brief affair during the Rumors tour. A lot was happening during Rumors, okay? Which ended because it threatened the band. Bob Weston and Mick Fleetwood. The guitarist Bob Weston had an affair with Mick Fleetwood's wife, Jenny Boyd, leading to Weston's dismissal from the band and Fleetwood's divorce. These feuds, while often dramatic, fuel some of Fleetwood Mac's most iconic and commercially successful music. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it actually makes sense in a lot of ways too,
That's
particularly the
just
album Rumors. The songs on that album, like Go Your Own Way, Dreams, reflect the band members' personal experiences and emotional turmoil. Okay,
All three
so
relationships were
that
going
that
up
is
in
a
flames at the same time.
that is such a complicated exactly at the same time.
I mean, the two like marriages within the band, and then like you said, Fleetwood was divorcing his wife all at the same time. You imagine how what an album to come out of that.
Oh,
Yeah,
and the
what an
amount
album.
of
Yeah.
coke that they were snorting up their nose. I love it how one of them said, "John's drinking too much." You were all fucking flying high as a kite, you know.
Yeah, another band that had a lot of relationship drama was the Mamas and the Papas. In fact,
Oh yeah.
Oh God,
Well,
we're not
yeah.
going to go there. Are we? Oh shit.
Yeah, we could go anywhere. We can go anywhere. The Everly Brothers feuded. They did. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Dan. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, I just brought it out because I saw Natalie in the chat mention something about that.
Gotcha.
And I forgot how much goings on there was in that band.
You know what? If you're looking for conflict amongst bands, oh my God. I mean, this show could go on for a week. I'm telling you. I mean, there's been so much conflict out there within the bands, between the bands. It just goes and goes.
Matter of fact, we ought to try and see if we can do research and find one or two bands that didn't have conflict. We could do a whole show on them.
The perfect band. The perfect band.
Yeah.
The perfect band. That sounds good.
That'll be the show we'll never be able to pull off. Something tells me.
Ozzy versus Dio, Jersey Devil says. Ozzy versus Dio. I think Dio in some situations, just not with Black Sabbath, because to me, I started with Black Sabbath, when they first came out, bought their music initially, saw them in 1970, 71 at the Las Vegas Convention Center. And you know what? And Dio is a great singer. I don't want to take anything away from Dio, but Ozzy will always be the sound of Black Sabbath for me anyway. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but
well, I do, but Royce and I both know that other people like the other versions of Black Sabbath. I have no trouble with people saying.
I have a Dio album with Black Sabbath.
Yeah, I never will. I'm not interested in that aspect of them. When I do want to hear them, I'll stream them.
It was with Ozzy.
Yeah, there'd be a version of Black Sabbath I would stream. I don't want them on CD or LP. But I used to feel that way. So again, if Nick is still out there, I used to feel that way about a lot of bands like Ozzy as a solo artist, and now I want his stuff. Right. Yeah, so that may change really too. Really good. Yeah. Like the jury isn't totally out on all incarnations of Black Sabbath for me. It's just that over the years, I collected them avidly, and when Ozzy was gone, I didn't. It just gets down to that for me, But Ronnie James Dio is a great singer. I just didn't hear that kind of vocals with Black Sabbath in my head.
No, that's right. He was technically a great singer.
Yes.
And I have an album of his, one of his own albums, just called Dio, I think.
Right.
And,
Sid in the chat has, I like what he said, and it's a true statement too. We're talking about bands that never had conflicts. Rush.
Oh yeah, I just saw that. Sid's actually made a couple of great comments tonight.
Rush never had a conflict. And they even with the professor, Neil Peart, he wrote all the lyrics and all that, and they sat down to renegotiate their contracts, and they said no, we'll just keep it with. And he was fine with it. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. They just left it the way it was.
Gotcha. Yeah. That might have to be an upcoming episode, Royce.
Yeah.
What a great band too.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Okay, so let's see what else do we have? Okay, Brian Wilson versus Mike Love. Okay, discord between the cousins.
I call Brian Wilson in the first round.
Yeah, well, no doubt. We got into that a little bit the other day. Uh, you weren't a big Mike Love fan at that
I
point either.
hate Mike Love. I hate
Brian
it.
Wilson versus Mike Love. Discord between the cousins had had set in by the mid '60s when Wilson, the acting maestro behind the Beach Boys, sought to move the band beyond their fun in the sun persona. Love found the new musical daring, pretentious, and feared alienating the fans originally won by their carefree surfing image. So it went on. I mean, the stress was palpable during the 66 session of Pet Sounds. I mean, you can only imagine, right? Wilson's most experimental work to date, skeptical of augmenting their sound with a fleet of session musicians wielding exotic instruments. Love resented that Wilson took the majority of the lead vocals himself. It's just as well as he took issue with much of the album's lyrical content. Some of the words were so totally offensive to me that I wouldn't even sing them because I thought it was too nauseating, Love admitted to Goldmine magazine in 1992. Exhibit A new tune Wilson presented with the LSD drenched title, Hang On to Your Ego. Hardly a psychotic warrior, Love put his foot down. He got his way this time and refused to participate. The title was promptly changed to I Know There's an Answer.
Hey, Royce, is that the same Mike Love that went to India with his love beads and all that shit with the
It's
Beatles?
the same one.
My
Yes.
God Almighty!
Yeah.
Oh, I did, and he was against the psychedelic approach of some of the songs from Pet Sounds. You say?
That's exactly
Oh,
right.
that's right. He was too busy co-writing back in the USSR with Paul McCartney. Not. You know what?
That's
I
true.
say I hate the man. I do. I don't like his personality. But to be honest with you, Royce, if I were to compare Pet Sounds, see, Pet Sounds is one of those albums I just don't get. I hear it. I know what they're talking about. I know why the critics say it's good. I can hear it, and yet I just still don't get it. For the most part, it seems boring to me. I like the Mike Love earlier stuff better than Pet Sounds. So,
Mhm.
I'm not cutting him down as a performer or his input, especially early with the band, but I just don't like the guy. And I'll tell you why
Yeah.
Brian Wilson sang so many of the leads there. You just gave us the answer, Royce, because Mike Love refused to sing some of the lyrics that were there. And frankly, if you look at Mike Love's lyrics of earlier, I'll be true to my school and stuff like that. I don't know if that's one of his, but it was often that kind of stuff. He wasn't capable at that time to be able to do it. Maybe later he could, but at that time he wasn't able. He was being challenged, and it was like, you have been acknowledged and you have been found lacking, sir. That's the way I
Yeah.
look at it. You know,
Right. Right.
that was the time for him to knuckle up and come up and raise the bar for himself and get in there instead of just bitching and moaning all the time.
Yeah. 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 Perry Farrell versus James Addiction guitarist. Yeah. Wasn't it Jane's Addiction? They got in a fist fight on stage. They were starting a big tour. I almost put that one on my list. They were starting a big tour, Jane's Addiction, and they had a fight on stage. The tour got canceled, and everybody was suing everybody. This was on the first show.
Oh boy.
Yeah, yeah, terrible.
Okay,
Come
so
on,
do the
guys.
feuds actually have to be interpersonal? Because I mean, you get people like Pete Townsend and Jimi Hendrix who just destroyed their cars. I mean, or guitars, I should
Yeah.
say. I mean, Jimmy, he was
Well,
so mad at his
Pete
guitar he lit
Townsend
it on
was
fire.
once knocked out by the singer of Who.
Yeah.
I read that today also. I mean, like I said, these stories of conflict are just absolutely endless, guys. Absolutely endless.
Or Keith
Okay, so the
Emerson
next
versus
one,
his keyboards on stage. You ever see video of Emerson, Lake and Palmer on stage? Keith Emerson
yeah,
beats the shit out of his keyboards.
His keyboards, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Man, they
Okay,
strap
so
him into those suckers, man. Remember California Jam, Royce? He was
oh
strapped
yeah,
into that thing. That thing flew through the freaking air, man.
that's right. Okay, so now, folks, we're going to talk about the Eagles, the freaking
Oh, boy.
Eagles, baby. Rarely did they have a peaceful, easy feelings within their ranks. Okay? But the most extreme rift widened during the session for Hotel California in '76. Felder expressed the desire to sing his composition, Victim of Love, but the bandmates were less than pleased. Let's see. I almost had a meltdown on my screen. Okay, the bandmates were less than pleased, um, because Don Felder, for all of his talents as a guitar player, was just not a singer. Fry said in the band's authorized 2013 documentary, The History of the Eagles, Henley agreed, saying it simply did not come up to band standards, his singing. Okay. So while Felder was at dinner with the group's manager, this is funny, Irving Azoff, the rest of the band wiped his vocals and re-recorded it with Henley.
Boy, I sure wouldn't have wanted to be.
God.
I wouldn't want it to be Ringo in that band.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well,
You know?
Felder never forgot the slight. The Eagles struggled to follow up the record-breaking success of Hotel California, and sessions for what would become the long run dragged on for 18 months. During this time, Felder found himself increasingly at odds with Henley and Fry. Can kind of understand that, but at the same time, if your voice wasn't up to the standard, I mean, come on, man. Sarcastically dubbing them the gods. The resentment reached critical mass July 31st, 1980. The night the band played a benefit concert for California Senator. Boy, this is a blast from the past. They played a benefit concert for California Senator Alan Cranston at Long Beach Arena, where I saw the Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street. Felder, who preferred to steer clear of political causes, was frustrated about having to go along with Henley and Fry's wishes. When the senator thanked each musician individually at a pre-show meet and greet, Felder replied with a curt, "You're welcome, Senator, I guess." Enraged, Fry and Felder, as soon as the politician was out of sight and the fight continued on the mic, and in the middle of the night's performance, were on stage, and Felder looks back at me and says, "Only 3 more songs till I kick your ass, pal." And I'm saying, "Great, I can't wait." Frey later recalled, "We're out there singing Best of My Love, and inside both of us are thinking, as soon as this is over, I'm going to kill him." So anyway, that's part of the fights there. It goes on and on. There's plenty more, but you know what? I kind of like this next conflict. And this isn't interband. It's between two separate people from two different bands. And I've read this story many times. Keith Richards and Elton John, their conflict. Whatever the cause of the rift, Richards didn't hold back when he was asked his thoughts on Candle in the Wind, John's musical elegy for friend Princess Diana. Though profits from the single were donated to charity, Richards said the rewrite of John's 73 tribute to Marilyn Monroe did jar a bit in an October 97 interview with Entertainment Weekly. Songs for Dead Blondes, he pronounced, "I'd find it difficult to write on the back of something like that myself. But Reg, John's birth name, is showbiz." He echoed the sentiment a short time later and took aim at John's theatrical style. So anyway, the tension was building there, folks. The tension was building. Elton John fought back in an interview published by the Daily News that same month. "I'm glad I've given up on drugs and alcohol. It would be awful to be like Keith Richards. He's pathetic, poor thing. It's like a monkey with arthritis trying to go on stage to look young. I have great respect for some of the Stones."
Said the man wearing a toupee.
That's right. "I have great respect for the Stones, but would have been better if they had thrown Keith out 15 years ago. I think he's an asshole and I have for a long time. He also refuted the accusations of Vegas-level theatrics. Please, if the Rolling Stones aren't show business, then what is? You know, with their inflatable naked women and stuff. So Elton John went on the offensive in
Works
2011
for me.
when he when he criticized Richard's recent autobiography, Life, which featured some unflattering details about Jagger's anatomy. I was a bit put off hearing about the bit about Jagger's penis, he said.
Yeah.
This is getting crazy now. Hearing about Jagger's penis, he said. If I had that songwriting partner, Bernie Taupin, was a miserable. If I had, you know, he songwriting Bernie Taupin was a miserable twat and had a small penis, he'd probably never talk to me again. You know, it's like why do you do that? The relationship between the two rock icons thawed in September 2015 when fellow Stones Ronnie Wood, he's just such a decent guy, was able to broker a truce long enough for Richards and John to pose for a photo at the GQ Awards in London. So anyhow, I always kind of there's more to that. I read different versions of some of the animosity, but anyway, so Elton John and Keith Richards did not like each other.
No, I suppose not.
No,
I guess
no.
I guess if you're mad at somebody, always go after their penis, right? I mean, is that?
I guess, yeah. Well, that's a low blow, Dan.
Oh boy.
Dan's just trying to keep ahead of the conversation.
He's doing a good job too. Okay, how about Michael? You probably know about this. The police feud was really fueled by the media. I've read Miles Copeland and Stewart's biographies, and they didn't mention the feud. That's interesting.
Well, they've the police were a feud. Okay, that's how for their entire history they fought like cats and dogs.
Okay,
and you had three very dynamic personalities. Of course, Sting's songwriting ability coming into play right at the outset. Okay. And the other two feeling like they couldn't get their stuff on. And for the most part, they didn't. And yet the argument is they put out 5 albums and all 5 are masterpiece albums. Just if you're wondering which album to get, I would probably suggest get Synchronicity. That's their best album to me.
Yeah,
that's their Abbey Road. There's no doubt about it. But it's not so far beyond Zenyatta Mandata or Ghost in the Machine or their Regatta de Blanc or their other album. It's all they're just not coming to me right now. So there was always that. Plus, they just their personalities. They were drawn to each other. There was no doubt about it. But neither one of them were comfortable with one person taking the lead, and and the major clash. If there was a guy that was kind of decent about just kind of. The guitarist would, he'd clash, but he could back up just a little bit. But when your drummer's brother is the manager of the band, that gives the drummer more sense of power even, and it was his band to begin with. So, and he wasn't gonna, and he is one of the greatest drummers in rock. I don't care what anybody says. I think just watch some of their live shit, man.
Oh yeah.
He really he was so key to their sound. Andy's guitar was so key to their sound, and of course Sting, a very good bassist, excellent bassist. I wouldn't put him in my top 10, but top 20 maybe. I'd have to re-listen and rethink that. But he's really good. But his magic is his voice and his songwriting capability. And looking back on their history as it unfolded, they were right not to include too much from the other two. But what was there sparkled, especially the Synchronicity, sparkled it up a bit in an insane kind of almost amateurist way, because, material from them was nowhere near what it was, but sitting oddly alongside a couple of Sting tracks would even be what Dan always calls it, a palate cleanser, almost. So they were fighting back and forth. I've been wishing and wishing and wishing for a Police reunion. Get back, make some new music. And what does Sting do? He goes out and he starts touring with a trio. The dirty bastard, know?
Right.
I mean,
guys,
my God.
I gotta give a shout out to the chat here. I mean, it's just been one amazing comment after another. I mean,
yep.
You guys are so good. Dr. Insomnia is still here. John Fogerty versus the rest of CCNR, right? Yeah, I mean, George Pita made one a little while ago. He talked about, Elton John, with Bernie Taupin songwriting, how great they were. And you know what? I could not agree more. I wanted to comment on that because I saw Elton John in concert, Las Vegas Convention Center, around the same year that I saw Black Sabbath, which might have been on their first tour. And I loved it. We were all Elton John fans. He came out, he had gigantic sunglasses on, and between every song, he'd change the sunglasses to a different pair, But he was just such a fantastic piano player. And Taupin's songs were just spot on. I mean, just masterpieces. I mean, really masterpieces. And then later, Caesar's Palace in Vegas sent Betty and I tickets to see Elton John's $1 Million Piano Show. And what an amazing show that was. And they called it the $1 Million Piano because the wide band that runs around the outside all the way around the piano, that's about, I don't know, that wide or whatever, had a scene running through it, I mean, if they were playing Rocket Man, the gigantic screen behind Elton John and the band would have this celestial screen going by. And whatever song they were playing, there was a matching screen. But it didn't just go by behind them on the giant screen. The side of that piano through that band, it also switched to that same screen that was playing, and that's why it was $1 Million Piano. They could show all this stuff through it. But it was such a great. I mean, he had 3 drummers. One of them played the big congas, and the other 2 were on drum sets, and he had just an amazing band behind him. It was just fantastic. What a great artist. And so we have so much. Look at Richie Blackmore, Ian Gillan, always had a turbulent relationship. Angela, thanks, Ben, the Mercurial Mr. Blackmore. Yep. James Watson, so many good comments tonight. Entwistle and Moon almost quit the Who in the late 60s. All wasn't peachy keen, and then they almost joined Jimmy Page.
That was May of 1966. They almost created Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, that's right. Ben Scheidegger. They have it on film, Angela. There's a video of it here on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Richie Blackmore's Meltdown? Yeah.
Okay. Richie Blackmore freaks out on stage. Should be on YouTube somewhere. So it sounds like it is. I'd like to see that too.
Oh, yeah. I have the DVD when he threw water at Ian Gillan.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a great scene.
Natalie's telling James Watson it was because of drug use. It's all starting to make sense now. I think Daltrey punched and knocked down Townsend once. Yes, he did. I read that today. Natalie, Angelo, Kitty.
All right, I got one to add.
Okay, go ahead.
It's actually about the Beatles as well.
Oh, okay.
It was George Harrison and Paul McCartney. Like when they were recording, what's it say here? He became...
Bill Kay,
Harrison reportedly came to resent Paul McCartney for nitpicking every single thing he wanted to play.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. I've seen that clip. George gets a little upset at Paul and says, I'll just play it any way you want me to play it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, yeah, or maybe you just play it, for me or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he did. I think Paul wound up playing that song. I remember that story. Yeah, I can't think of what song it is right now.
No, it was Let It Be. George, what when I find myself in times drawn, he wanted to, or it was Hey Jude. He wanted to, Hey Jude, and he's going down, down. He wanted to play the answer to it, and Paul said, no, that's not the way the song goes. George got all upset, and he goes, look, I'll play it the way you want it to, or I won't play on the song if you don't want me to.
Oh, yeah,
Then he quit the Beatles and was gone for a while, because of that.
Right.
And years later, he would always talk about how Paul was always that way. And Ringo would later say, yeah, Paul was always that way. And of course, Ringo softened his stance later, saying, well, yeah, but Paul was always that way. From when they were in Germany, Paul was the guy that got that band up and, hey, we got a set to do, And
right.
So if it wasn't, and Ringo even later said, if Paul hadn't been that way, you probably wouldn't have got their last two albums.
Yeah.
So
hey guys, check Michael. This will blow your mind. Check this out, Dr. Insomnia. I love this comment Dr. Insomnia made. Such great comments in the chat. Oh my God, the Who were constantly breaking up. There's an article from Melody Maker circa 1966. This is crazy. In which Townsend says the Who have run out of ideas. 1966.
I remember that interview.
And are finished as a band.
I used to buy Melody Maker.
Yet.
Yeah.
Dr. Insomnia,
I remember that. And thank you for bringing that up because I said it was 1966 when they almost quit the band. See, so everything's matching up. It was May 1966 when the two of them were scheduled to record with Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page, and it wound up John Paul Jones because the only one out of the two of them that showed up was Keith Moon. So they almost formed Led Zeppelin during that time. And you wonder why they wanted out of the band with that quote. I hadn't thought of that quote in years, but as soon as you read it, I remembered reading that. And Melody Maker was always a magazine I bought, Circus, Rolling Stone up to a point, Yeah.
Well, we've been joined by the one and only Bill Kay.
Hey, Bill.
We're going to have to play that demo for him in a bit here, Dan.
Okay. Yeah, it's queued up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I call the greatest band that never was, the 66 Zeppelin that almost happened. Absolutely, Winslow. We've talked about that many times, and we feel the same way. Dr. Insomnia never knew that. But, boy, I don't know if they could have topped what did happen with Zeppelin.
I don't know. When you think, especially if they got the singer they wanted, Jeff Beck and freaking Jimmy Page. Oh, my God.
Speaking of the
makes my mouth water.
Oh, well, Jeff Beck. Yeah. I wasn't thinking in terms of Jeff Beck. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. Because it says Jeff Beck versus the Yardbirds. Some of this I don't agree with. Jeff Beck squandered his opportunity as a replacement guitarist for Eric Clapton in the Yardbirds when he invited his friend Jimmy Page to join in '66. Page's presence made it easier to boot Beck out of the band when he refused to go along with the group's move towards a pop sound in favor of more experimental music. Things came to a head in late '66 when Beck became frustrated after a string of back-to-back tour engagements across the U.S. He left the band soon after, and in his presence, Page moved up to lead guitar player before debuting Led Zeppelin. Right. Then, although Beck went on to have a successful career in his own right, he seemed to harbor resentment for years, announcing on stage in the 1992 induction of the Yardbirds into the Hall of Fame. He says, "Somebody told me I should be proud tonight, but I'm not because they kicked me out. They did." And that was his comment. Like, I should be happy the Yardbirds are being in there, but they kicked me out, so I'm not that happy.
Oh, I see.
It's
Yeah, I
interesting
was always
because
under
he
the
was all
impression,
wrapped.
yeah, with his Black Spolero, and I thought
Well,
he
there's
left.
something wrong with that because he didn't. Jimmy Page was invited to replace Clapton. He said, "No, I'm busy in the studios here. How about my buddy Jeff?" So they were there, and then was it uh, Chris Dreja, the bass player?
Yeah, the bass player.
I
Yeah,
think it's him.
yeah.
He
He was
left.
gonna go. He was gonna go. He was gonna go with. Yeah.
Jimmy Page came in as bass. Then Chris Dreja rejoined. So they had two guitar players.
I don't know why
But
he says he was kicked out of that band. He wasn't.
He
He was
wasn't.
hanging out with the girlfriend, and they had some sort of kerfluffle happen. And he left the band and wouldn't show up. They had to replace him.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Who knows?
Rockin' Robin Bird, Freddie Mercury versus Sid Vicious. Freddie threw Sid Vicious up against the wall.
Wow.
I love George and Ringo, but always remember it was John and Paul's band from day one at Royce in the House. Thank you, George. Yeah, well, I mean, pretty much. I mean, you gotta go with that. Doctor Insomnia. They quit many times in a year. Don't know, uh, don't know that breakup matches, but I might be right. Don't know I that breakup one that I'm sorry. I don't know one that breakup matches, but I might be right. Right on. Yeah, I mean these people in the chat are just really knocking it out of the park here. Al Val, Tony Banks being boozy caused Steve Hackett and Peter Gabriel to quit Genesis. Well, allegedly. Natalie, Yardbirds. Yes, we all love the Yardbirds. I got about 6 or 7 of their albums, the Yardbirds. Winslow Red Cross. Yes, Michael. George Pita, who wrote the greatest songs of all time? Who wrote the greatest songs of all time? Well, that's interesting. That sounds like a show too.
It could be taken many
The
ways.
Beatles.
Yeah.
The Beatles. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I would go 100% with the Beatles, but you know what? They did write a hell of a lot of songs, and they in a pretty short period of time too.
Remember the operative word was songs.
Yes.
Not tracks, right? Songs. So now you
Right.
got to look at melody, you got to look at harmony, you got to look at song structure, you got to look at whether it has a bridge, does it have a chorus, does it start on a bridge for the first time in history, blah 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 blah. The Beatles.
Okay. I can't argue with you. Natalie says, "How about Cream? I didn't hear any feud." Well, yes, there was a big feud. Right, Jack Bruce, and the drummer, the famous drummer, whose name is kind of escaping me at this very moment. Ginger Baker, love Ginger Baker.
I always screw his name up too, Royce. I do. I for some strange reason, when I start talking about Cream, I can't think of Ginger Baker's name.
The redhead behind the drum kit. Yeah.
That's what
Jack
I said
Bruce
one night,
versus Ginger
didn't I,
Baker.
Chris?
That's right.
I even said, yeah, the redheaded drummer.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, God.
We got another one for us. And this
Okay.
one's within a really famous band. Mick Jagger versus Keith Richards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sir Mick versus Keith. That's when it really cracked open.
Yeah.
Right.
The Battle of the Rolling Stones frontmen began roughly around 78, when Richards' narcotics addiction had grown so bad that he went on trial and was forced to sober up. In the years before, Mick Jagger had taken control of the group away from the drug-addled Richards. But once the latter stopped using, for at least a while, he went back to he wanted his fair share of the power back. In the 1980 song All About You, Richards sang what many interpret as a particularly scathing critique of Jagger, leading the two to all but stop talking by the following year. The lines were, well, if you call this life, why must I spend mine with you? If the show must go on, let it go on without you. So sick and tired of hanging around jerks like you. Just as the band was preparing to go on tour to promote their album Dirty Work, Jagger informed them, by written letter that he decided to focus on his solo career instead. And although it took several years, the two rock powerhouses did eventually reconcile, and today the Rolling Stones remain the longest-running rock band in history.
Yeah.
Touring together
and soon to produce a new album have a recent album out that's excellent.
Well, Hackney Diamonds wasn't bad either.
That's what I said. A recent album that's excellent. Hackney Diamonds. Yeah.
We're being complimented here by George Pita. This is a great topic, my friends, at Royce in the House and at Michael Noland. Teenage Wasteland, Bill K. Okay. Dr. Insomnia. If Cream had stuck around a while longer, they would have eventually released Cream 8. Yeah? Cream 8. Cream 8.
Yeah. Cream 8.
Master of Puppets is one of the great songs for those of us that dealt with cocaine addiction. Okay. I've got that. I think I've got the album.
Versus Dave Mustaine. Metallica and Dave Mustaine,
yeah.
Thank you, Rock and Robin. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I think I missed I skipped one of the conflicts I was going to talk about, and it was Dave Mustaine being kicked out of Metallica and starting Megadeth to compete with them.
Yep.
You know, and that went on for a long time, and the fans of that kind of thrash metal or whatever at the time, they were loving both bands, really.
Yeah, there's a Pantera connection to that story too.
Oh, well, go ahead and tell it, brother.
They were wanting to recruit Dimebag Darrell to join Megadeth.
Oh, they were.
And Darrell said, "Well, I'll join, but I got to bring my brother Vinny along with me to play drums." Mm-hmm. He said, "Well, we're not looking for a drummer. We're looking for a guitar player." He goes, "Well, it's me or him. It's me, and we're a package. You take us both, or you get neither one of us." They said, "Well, we got to pass." So then,
gotcha.
Of course, and Pantera popped up.
Right. Okay. That's a great story. I'd never heard that before. Joe Cocker and Leon Russell did not get along during the Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour. Well, that's interesting. I've got that album, Mad Dogs and Englishmen. I've had that since they came out. I was an Elton John fan. I was a Leon Russell fan too, though. Got a few Leon Russell albums. He was really big there for a while.
Yeah, I was really surprised. Leon Russell, I live in kind of a small town here north of Dallas.
Uh-huh.
And this is probably 30 years ago. And they're having a New Year's Eve party at this little club. I mean, it's a little bitty bar. This is Leon Russell playing at New Year's Eve.
Right.
Really? Leon Russell, that little bitty bar? I couldn't believe it.
Right. He was really, really, really talented, Leon Russell.
Leon Mary Russell.
Yeah. Really can't put the Who or the Beatles in the same category as rock musicians, like the Stones. Totally different rock. That's true. I agree. Dave Mustaine is a great musician. That's true too. Can't take anything away from him, Let's see. Beach Boys formed in 61, not 59. Okay. The Who and the Stones, maybe for rock, but not for the Beatles. Yeah, okay. Beatles actually formed in 57.
There's another couple more feuds I can mention for us. Because I just got a couple of pages on Google open that I'm just scrolling through. But one is Dickie Betts and the Allman Brothers.
Really?
Huh.
Or mainly Greg Allman.
Okay. Greg Allman. Okay.
Yeah, Dickie Betts, or guitarist Dickie Betts, was a famously rowdy co-worker, behind the scenes, frequently trashing hotel rooms, brawling with cops, getting arrested. He first entered the band in 69, but his heavy drinking and wild antics didn't fare well with lead singer Greg Allman. Their differences caused the group's disbanding in 1976, with Betts stating in an interview with Rolling Stone, "There's no way we can work with Greg ever." The band subsequently reunited in 79, broke up again in 82, and once more in 1989, but the final straw came in 2000, when the band had enough of Betts' heavy drinking and permanently kicked him out of the group. But there's also something here that says, Greg Allman shed some light on the long-running feud in his 2012 autobiography, complaining of Betts being overbearing and difficult to work with. Says, we must have been pretty attached as a band to take that crap off him for so long.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, outside the vocals on Allman Brothers, the Allman Brothers sound was Dickie Betts. I mean, that's when I hear the Allman Brothers, I'm hearing Dickie Betts. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, the earliest stuff is Dickie Betts and Duane Allman. You imagine watching those two on stage trading licks? My goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Dickie Betts and Great Southern. They came. I got a T-shirt right here beside me on the wall at the Blues Fest, like probably 10, 15, maybe more years ago. What a great guitar player! My goodness.
He just passed this past year, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna. I want to say this again while there's still some people in the chat. Next week's show on Royce in the House is going to be an interview conducted by Dan McNew and myself. Dan set this up just like he did the previous interview with Dave Farner from Grand Funk Railroad. So anyway,
Mark Farner.
Mark Farner. I'm sorry. Okay, so here goes the.
Well, before you run the video, I want to give
go ahead.
Preview of who Paul Guerin is.
Okay,
he was with the Choir Boys for like 25 years, and then Joe Elliott from Def Leppard approached him and said, "We need to put together a band to open up for Mott the Hoople." So they put together this band. It's called the Down and Outs, and the band became more successful than they really thought it was going to be because they first Mott the Hoople wanted Def Leppard to open for him, and he said, "Well, no, we can't do that." So they put this band together to open up for Mott the Hoople, and very successful. And then they've been, I can't remember the last time they played, but they really don't play too much anymore. But the Choir Boys pretty much is reformed into this new band that just released an album first of the year. The name of the band is Black Eyed Sons. I always say Black Eyed Boys. It's Black Eyed Sons. And when they released the album in January, it went to #1 in the UK. So they're doing real well.
Wow, that is doing well.
He's here in the States right now with his girlfriend, but he's got to leave in August to go back to the UK. They're going to start a tour. And they're very excited about this upcoming tour. He's going to see about getting the tour to come to the United States. So, so I know he'll be playing in Dallas if he goes back. He'll definitely be playing in Dallas. So, but awesome guitar player. And if you ever get a chance, look up the Down and Outs, Funeral for a Friend, and Love Lies Bleeding. I mean, they do such a great job on that song. It's unbelievable. So if you get a chance, kind of look that up, as well as their new stuff. And they're on the new album song is called "Cowboys in Pinstripe Suits," and and Joe Elliott actually sings on that song. Joe Elliott from Def Leppard, so that's a pretty cool song.
Right, totally. Okay, we're gonna roll the film.
Hey there. So it's Paul Guerin here. Please join us in Royce in the House podcast on July 27th. I want you to watch it.
Yeah, we shot that video.
Bravo!
Yeah, I shot that video this past Wednesday down in Palestine, Texas. We had open access to the Texas State Railroad, any place we wanted to go, which is great. Broke the drone out and did a lot of cool stuff.
I figured Bill K would really enjoy seeing that too, because he's really
into
trains where he lives. You know.
That's right. Yeah.
He's put up lots of videos with the trains and stuff that I've watched.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next week.
Oh yeah, me too. That's going to be a lot of fun. So appreciate it, Dan. And yeah, I've got my homework to do. I mean, you're ahead of me on this.
Yeah, I spent the entire day with him, so he's like my new best friend now. He's my new best friend.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Did you have him write all your questions?
No, we didn't.
I'm just
ask me this, ask me that.
Yeah. No, that I'm looking forward to that. I really am. Yeah, he's an amazing guitar player. Oh my God, that slide playing. Oh.
Yeah, there's a story about that slide. I'll have to ask him about that during the interview. That's that little metal thing he used on a guitar there. There's a story behind that.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun time. So
hey, Bill K. I see Bill K.'s wondering what railroad museum that is. That's the Texas State Railroad, and that train station where that train is. They film a lot of TV series there, like 1883, Yellowstone, a couple others. That do that filming. Right? It's because it's such an old train station, but it's a beautiful train station. It looks just like it was back in the 1800s.
Right.
So
totally
make a lot
cool.
of movies there.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, I want to thank the panel. Thank you, guys. Michael.
Thanks for having us on, Royce. Sorry, I'm off screen, folks, but I
had a great
I have
time.
a back.
Yeah, I had a great time. Yeah. So anyway, and I really want to thank everybody in the chat. Man, you guys were just absolutely amazing. I mean, you're always amazing, but I mean, the questions tonight, maybe it was because of the shows we've been doing lately. Last week we covered great solos, rock's greatest solos, and tonight we came back with rock's biggest feuds, or some of them anyway. I'm sure there's some we haven't even heard of yet. But anyway, so the chat is just amazing. I love the chat. The chat really makes the show, doesn't it, guys?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So that's it, folks. We're going to sign off, and thank you all so much for being here. Rockin' Robin Bird, Dr. Insomnia, Oberheim, our buddy Brandon from down under in Australia. Thank you for being here. And that's gonna be a wrap, folks. And that's what's happening in Royce's world tonight. Thank you all so very much for joining, and hope to see you next week. Next week for the interview. That will be fun. Thank you.
Yes.
Now, y'all.